Gopalakrishna. I go by Kris. I'm part of Winsights Solutions, taking care of go-to-market and revenue enablement areas of the business. As you may know, Winsights Solutions is essentially a B2B revenue enablement company building predictable sales pipeline for B2B vendors. Today, I'm specifically going to talk about B2B buyer's journey and how you, as a seller, has a significant role to play in not only aligning, but essentially winning those B2B buyers along the B2B buyer's journey. Like I said, we will look at B2B buyer's journey and how sellers can align to win. These are the topics that I'm going to touch upon. Essentially, how the B2B buyer journey is evolving and what is the opportunity for seller and what it means to be a seller who's reactive and what it means to be a seller who is proactive. And when you are proactive seller, how are you able to align to be able to win such B2B buyers along the journey? And when you do so, what kind of KPIs and metrics are positively impacting for your business? And we wrap it up with a summary and little bit of intro Winsights and concluding the presentation. So, as you may know, in the evolving B2B buyer's journey, you have an opportunity to embed yourself right at the beginning of B2B buyer's journey, because considering that you have a total addressable market of 10,000 target accounts, but at any given point in time, ample research demonstrates, such as Gartner, that only 3% of your B2B buyer's journey are in the market for active buying considerations. Essentially, it means you really have to go after this 3% of your target addressable market, and of course, devise different strategies to address 97% of your target addressable market. Now, at a high level, the B2B buyer journey is split into few stages, and it starts with your buyers doing initial research and looking at the social media for different vendors and what kind of reviews and ratings that those vendors may have, and looking at more than a few vendors who are competing with each other and who has a better solution in terms of their fitment and also in terms of the success stories, as well as, of course, the commercial aspects of it. Then, if you're lucky, they may land on your website as one of the competing solution providers and they get to know you. And if you're inspiring enough, they may leave the digital footprint behind in terms of, let's say, filling the form. And that is when you as a seller essentially will wake up and start jumping into the B2B buyer journey, while your B2B buyers continue to move on to next stages, such as evaluating multiple options that they have and ultimately finalizing a particular vendor. So in essence, this is the high level B2B buyer journey. Now let's see what it means to be a reactive seller and what it means to be a proactive seller and what is the difference between reactive and proactive seller. So here I will get into little more detailing in terms of, okay, why should you even care about B2B buyer's journey? Because as per Gartner, the 3% or so out of your total addressable market are in the market for buying considerations. However, the 3% of those buyers are not having an easy ride in terms of 77% of your buyers saying that their purchasing experience or buying experience has been a lot more complex or a lot more difficult in the recent past. Imagine 77% of your buyers are considering their buying experience as complex. And certainly, you as a seller has something to do to ease that pain or elevate that experience for your B2B buyers. Now, why do they say that 77% of buyers find their recent purchase to be complex or difficult? Let's understand the reasons behind it. One is that the complexity of a B2B purchase because of multi-stakeholders involvement in contributing to decision making. In fact, the number can be as small as 6 and as big as 20 decision makers. No wonder decision making for purchasing is complex. And the other reason is that these decision makers, because they come from diverse backgrounds, somebody might be representing finance, somebody might be representing the technology function, business function, IT, end user. So you have different stakeholders wearing different prism and having a unique perspective of looking at the same purchasing decision. And on top of it, they do their homework in evaluating what is that they want in a vendor to meet their expectations. So it is not an easy task for each of these buyer stakeholders doing a research and having an expectation on their vendor. And the third one is the sheer availability of solutions or the plenty of choice that your buyer has in choosing different vendors amongst the slew of vendors or competitors available in the market. So that makes it very difficult. One, you have 6 to 20 stakeholders in making a buying decision. Then each stakeholder is coming from a different background, doing their own research and setting their own expectations of a vendor. And three, the sheer number of competitors or vendors competing for the same business is also making the purchasing decisions of your buyers very, very complex. Now, switching gears, what are buyers actually doing to ease the buying experience? Of course, it's been challenging, complex, difficult, but they're not just sitting on the fence and expecting the seller to ease that experience totally for them. They are doing their own homework in these 6-point agenda. One, they're very clearly identifying the problem and they're realizing that yes, there is a problem identification and they have to do something about it because it is impacting their business. And two, they're extrapolating that problem statement by defining the needs or the requirements around that problem statement and then trying to figure out what kind of solutions might better suit them in addressing those requirements. Now, with the clarity on the problem statement, with the clarity around what kind of needs and requirements they have around solving that problem, now they go essentially window shopping. So though they do their own homework in finding out the relevant and the suitable solutions that are available in the market. So usually they depend on secondary research, internet research. They may go to review or rating sites like Trust Radius, like G2, and they might look at webinars, they might read white papers. So they essentially are looking at a bunch of things to get themselves educated on the solution options available to them. And with this homework, they are choosing, let's say, a handful of vendors who might fit into their requirement, but still they want to drill them further down from a technical, functional, and commercial aspects of your solution. And ultimately, they have a consensus. Remember, we talked about 6 to 20 buyers. So they have now to build a consensus of those 6 to 20 buyers involved, coming from a different perspective, to build that consensus and then ultimately to choose one of the, let's say, three shortlisted vendors. So as you can see, this B2B buyer journey is fairly complex, fairly time consuming, and fairly evolving as well. Now, typically, while I do not know how many, what is the percentage of sellers who are reactive versus what is the percentage of sellers who are proactive, but in the B2B buyer journey, typically a reactive seller comes to know of an opportunity and only when the buyer lets them know. So the buyer might come to your website and, let's say, do a live chat with one of the sales reps, or the buyer might leave a form filled. Usually these are the times when the seller comes to know that yes, there's a buyer who is interested in their particular solution. But by then, you may be way too late, because as we have elaborated, the buyer has already done significant homework in terms of problem identification, requirements exploration or expansion, and then looking at multiple vendors. So they're much deep into the journey anyway, and leaving the footprint behind. That's when you, as a seller, as a reactive seller, will jump into the buyer journey, where you may have a little or a small window to influence, to engage, and to be at least be a shortlisted vendor with the buyer. Now, the problem with that, or the challenge with that reactive seller, is that because you are late into the B2B buyer journey, you only have 4.4% of top of funnel inquiries ever convert into the deals. So which means out of the 4.4 top of funnel inquiries, you are ultimately staring into 0.3% of opportunities that are actually converting. Okay, so you can now see how unfairly you are placing yourself in winning those deals, whereas if you're a proactive seller, the game should have been a lot more different. Now, the whole point here is the timing, which is, in the world of B2B, we call it as intent data. So intent data is one of the primary sales signals that you as a seller need to identify those 3% of buyers who are in the market for active purchasing considerations. Now, this intent data is essentially about exhibiting a buyer's intent who is who may be actively considering purchasing a solution that you have to provide, right? So, how do you come to know? They leave their digital footprint behind, including on your website, or better, they attend webinars, or they're downloading white papers or ebooks. They are talking to your competitors, and they're doing secondary research such as on Google search engine. This data is already available with third party providers. Bambora is one such example where you can then gain access to that B2B intent data to make your proactive moves, right? And when you have the power of the intent data with you, you're now able to position yourself proactively. And let's see what that means. So, you being a proactive vendor are now able to inject in yourself into very beginning of your B2B buyer journey, which is when they're doing the initial research, which is when you have the access to intent data, which is the reason why you know that this particular buyer is right now doing the homework in understanding the solutions availability, understanding different players in the market who have the potential solution for what they're looking for. If you're able to inject yourself right at that stage of initial research, you have a greatest chance of educating, engaging, influencing, and even winning those buyers in your favor, right? Because the whole idea is catching them young. That's the whole principle of why we need intent data in the first place. Now, like I mentioned already, the importance of your brand being present in the leading B2B evaluation portals such as G2 or Trust Radius, where you have very legitimate and credible reviews and ratings from your existing and the past customers, would lend you very well. And the your ability to access the sales intelligence data will help you have a better understanding of your buyers, the industry, the company, the buyer stakeholders, and your ability to track the buyers when they visit your website. You can map the path to purchase as long as they're on your website. You can find the account and potentially triage the buyers who might have come from that particular account. Any interactions that they have done in terms of downloading a white paper from your website. So these are some of the footprints the buyer has already left behind for you to identify. So when you have this insight, now you are in a better position to align, influence, and win your buyers. And how? When you're able to position yourself as a proactive buyer and a proactive seller, you have a greatest opportunity to influence the metrics that matter the most to you as a business, especially as a marketing and sales leader. As an example, we have consistently seen at Winsights where we run multiple ABM or account based marketing style campaigns. And we have clearly seen when we are using sales intelligence, including the intent data led outreach, We have remarkably seen the open rates, the reply rates, as well as the meeting books, and then in turn translating into qualified opportunities, and then from then to the demos, the proposals, and ultimate closures. We have across these parameters, we have clearly seen a sales intelligence led or intent data led ABM type campaigns have performed way better than the non sales intent led campaigns. And each of these KPIs or metrics, for example, we have seen there are more qualified opportunities when you use the sales intelligence led ABM kind of outreach. We have also seen that if you're converting 3 out of 10 opportunities in your first discovery meeting, with this approach, you're able to take that to 4 to 6 of those meetings converting into qualified opportunities. We've also seen, because your buyers are well informed about your brand, about your solution, about your success stories, about your thought leadership, that is accelerating your sales cycle. For example, we have consistently noticed through the data and reporting that what typically takes, let's say, 4 months to close a deal, with this sales intelligence led approach, the deals are closed around 3 months mark. So 16 weeks, which is 4 months, is around 10 to 12 weeks is when you're able to close the deals. So there is a significant impact on your ability to close deals faster, which means your revenue realization is also that much faster. The other significant KPI or metric that we have observed, which has an improvement, is better win ratio. Why? Because you no longer has to convince your buyers about your credibility, essentially, because buyer is already bought into your credibility, which is a reason why buyer actually has spent time with you in terms of learning about your solution, looking at your website, downloading your white paper, giving you an opportunity to demo your product. So buyer has invested into this relationship as much as you as a seller has invested into this relationship. Because of this symbiotic investment into each other, we have clearly seen that the win ratio has also shot up. Just as an indication, without this approach, typically our customers have won 15 to 20% of their deals. For example, 10 proposals submitted, typically they have won 2 or less than 2 deals in a regular scenario. But with this kind of a sales intent led ABM style approach, we have seen that the win ratio has shot up to 30 to 40%. So that means out of 10 proposals submitted, they have won 3 or even 4 deals. That is the impact this approach will create on your KPIs and metrics. And finally, you may be surprised or not, we have seen that there is a trust, there is a relationship that is being built into this B2B buyer journey. Sellers are now able to paint a bigger picture. They're able to paint a long-term view of the relationship. They're able to transform the conversation from transactional to transformational, from being a vendor who focuses on a particular opportunity to a vendor perspective who is deeply embedded as a long-term trusted advice to the customer. All these factors have actually enabled the seller to increase the pie. Essentially, we have seen at least 10% increase in the average deal size. As an example, if our customers are selling average deal size 1 year, $100,000, at least we have seen that this deal is worth 110 to $120,000. So that is the increase of the deal size as well. If you go down this sales intelligence led approach. Now, as you can see, this approach really matters the most when it comes to KPIs and metrics, whether it is qualified opportunities, whether it is booking into meetings, going all the way to proposal stage, 6 months shrinking into 4 months in sales cycle, and winning better than what you were, and also winning big better than what you were. And with that said, I move on to next topic, the summary, essentially, about why should you care as a seller to align to win. One is find buyers early in their path to purchase. Intent data is certainly one of them to do so, but there is much more to intent data. That's for some other topic. The moment you have access to sales intelligence, you have the opportunity to embed yourself very early into B2B buyer journey. So you have a great opportunity to align and influence your buyers towards your narrative, and hopefully and positively they are able to gain much value out of those mutual interactions, and as a result you are able to win their trust and being able to influence their purchase decision in your favor. Using content as a soft sell at every stage of the buyer's journey will lend you well in positioning yourself as a thought leader, and also someone who is very authentic in solving that particular problem for the customer. So being content centric, being buyer centric is extremely important in your B2B buyer journey. The other one I would say is that you can't do it alone. So you have to have not only people, processes, but you have to have smart bunch of tools and also vendors who can complement your existing infrastructure, your existing investments with the additional tools and additional strategies, so that you are able to cohesively and comprehensively approach your B2B buyer journey. And also remember that since we talked about 6 to 20 buyer stakeholders in the B2B buyers environment, understanding the roles and the rules of these individual buyer stakeholders will only lend you well in being able to connect to those buyers at an individual level, like they're a CFO or a CMO or a CTO or a CIO, but at the same time also have an ability to connect to them personally by learning more about where they have graduated from, the past companies that they have worked, some of the hobbies that they have. All of these will give you an opportunity to establish that connect both professionally as well as personally. And last, but certainly not the least, always fall back on your data analytics, because facts are always the first and foremost. Based on the facts, you can then derive certain insights. And with the insights, you can use your own experience, your gut, your instinct, your conviction to then evolve the unique strategy that really, really works in your favor. With that, never ever rest the growth mindset, or what I call it as Kaizen mindset, because evolving B2B buyer journey requires you to also evolve, learn, improve along the journey. So that continuous learning and growth mindset must be your motto in the B2B buyers environment. With that, I'll take a quick opportunity to introduce Winsights as a revenue growth enablement company using both the outbound and the inbound solutions to build predictable sales pipeline in 100% done for you model. And all of our programs come with performance guarantees. So if you're interested, you can reach out to me via social media. You can drop me an email, or you can give me a ring. All my coordinates are available on this slide. I thank you for this opportunity. With this, I conclude the topic on B2B buyer journey. I thank the Demand Gen Summit for this opportunity. I'm excited for the uh, other speakers and what they have to present. Thank you. Have a good day.